dance double play for you right there. Kicks it off with Julian Gomez, Love Song 20.
We'll be chatting a bit about those limitations. What are the requirements? What does the law say? And how far can you stretch it, basically?
All right.
Yeah.
So let's sort of dive into it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Please go by all means.
So,
Not much of a tax or accounting guru, so I will not pretend. I'm not going to pretend to have all the questions or answers. So
Yeah.
I think you should just lead the discussion in terms of what is and can be done and explain it, and hopefully our listeners will sort of engage you on the matter on our Facebook page, and we will ask the person questions. So feel free to ask some questions if you're tuned in. If you're listening on the KNR app or on any other streaming service that you may have, do let us know if you have any questions. Post them on our Facebook page. That's Keeping SC Radio. If you have us on Twitter, it's KNR_. Please check us out there. Please, over to you, Mrs. Ndungane.
Mrs. Ndungane. So the requirements are that whatever expenses that you're going to be claiming must be expenses actually incurred in the production of income. So that is the first step, and our listeners will recognize this sort of terminology or wording when we discussed expenditure in general. So it's expenditure or loss actually incurred in the production of income.
Okay.
So you must have actually expensed or lost something or spent an amount of money towards these expenses that you are claiming. And in terms of the home office space specifically, it must be an office regularly and exclusively used for the purposes of working. So if you set up a table in your bedroom, or if you use your kitchen counter as an office space, that would be disqualified.
Okay.
It must be a separate room in your home that is exclusively used for that office,
Okay.
for that trading activity. And then another requirement is that it must be specifically equipped for that purpose. So it must have a desk, a chair, a laptop if you're using a laptop, your office stationery, etc. So it must be specifically equipped for you to use as an office space. And then the duties must mainly be conducted in that space. Mainly in this sense means more than 50%. So with COVID-19, you find that some employees are actually going into work 2 days a week and then working from home 3 days a week. So if you look at that percentage wise, most of the time, that's more than 50% of the time, they are actually using that home office space.
Mm.
So they would then qualify to claim that deduction. And the last requirement is that specifically for employees, persons earning a salary, the employer must have it as a requirement for you to use this office space. And should you be selected for audit, SARS auditor can step in, and some of the supporting documents that they may want is a letter from your employer indicating that they've actually requested you to work from home. So
Okay.
it's not something you do out of your own accord. It must be an instruction or a directive from your employer.
So that excludes the self-employed.
It would
or-
actually include the self-employed,
Alright.
but if you are specifically an employee working on behalf of somebody else,
Yeah.
that must be a directive from your employer.
Oh,
If
Okay.
you're self-employed and you meet all the criteria, you've got your home office set up, it's a separate room, it's specifically equipped, so you would then and you use the space for more than 50% of your trading activity, you automatically qualify. Yeah.
that makes sense.
And then some of the expenditure that can be deducted are your rent if you're renting out your home.
Okay.
If you own the property and you're paying a bond on it, unfortunately, it's only limited to the interest on the bond and not the actual capital amount.
Wow.
So you'd need to actually take out your bond statement, and on your statement, it will then tell you that this portion was with regards to interest, and that was the capital portion, and only the interest would be deductible. Then also any repairs and maintenance that you conduct on the property, they would be allowed as a deduction. Your rates and your taxes. If you've got a cleaner that comes in to clean your entire property, including the office space, those cleaning costs, they are allowed as a deduction. And if you've got security that manages your property, the costs of your security personnel as well would be a deduction. But because you are living in the space and only using a portion of it for work purposes, you would then also need to apportion the amount as well. So if you look at your property, you're paying 10,000 rands in rent for the entire property, you would then need to apportion. You'd actually need to take a measuring tape and measure in square meters how much is your total property in square meters,
Okay.
and how much of your office space is that.
Oh, okay.
And then you'd work out a percentage,
Percentage.
say it's 10%, and all of these expenses that I've listed above, you would then claim that specific percentage.
Okay. It's
Yes.
actually interesting. It's actually interesting. So now, how often, are people aware, or are they generally aware of such? As far as your knowledge is concerned, are people actually aware that this is a practice that can work in their favor?
No, people are generally not aware about tax in general. which is why it's such an exciting field to work in, because I get to impart so much knowledge. To perform a service and to do the service to completion is great, but to feel that you've empowered somebody about something
Yes.
that they didn't know is just the cherry on top of for me in what I do. And this is now part of that space where a lot of people actually don't know that they've got access to this provision, and it's so nice for me to be able to share this information and see those light bulbs lighting
Yeah.
up.
Yes.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
having a few of those right now. Maybe just get myself a laptop or a computer and
Yeah.
microphones and see if I can get away with
Yeah.
Yes.
young 10% thing.
Yes.
Do you have any questions, Lelu?
So Sis so you said that you need to have mhlambi a letter evela from your employer
Yes.
to say that usebenza from endlini.
Yes.
So you can't just rock up and say and say that you want to claim okanye without the papers from the employer.
I mean, that would only come up if you're selected for audit. And I've
Okay.
actually got some interesting numbers with regards to last year, because remember, COVID started in 2020.
Mhm.
So people that submitted their returns last year, there's actually 10,000 people that claimed home office expenses.
Mhm.
Of that 10,000, 8,500 were selected for audit. So that's 85%
Wow.
was selected for audit. So if you're selected for audit, which is now highly likely that you would be selected for audit, you would then need to provide a host of supporting documents,
Mhm.
which I want to get into and then answer your question. So the supporting documents that you would need to prepare, if you're renting out your space, you would need your rental agreement or your rental statement, which shows how much rent you're paying. You would also need your bond statement if you're paying a bond on the property, which would then indicate the interest that you've paid.
Okay.
You'd need invoices from your cleaners or from your security company, and you'd need a municipal account from if you're going to be claiming water and rates and things like that. And then to answer your question with regards to that employer letter,
Mhm.
if you're an employee and you've had the conversation with your employer that it's more feasible for you to work from home, less exposure to COVID, because you're not in a cramped office space, and you've set up your home office, you've bought LT, your studio equipment, and you've set it all up, and you have that you've had that conversation and that agreement with your employer would then write you a letter indicating that I then authorize LT or Lelo to work from home, and that is then part of the accompanying documentation you would submit to SARS should they require it.
Okay.
So
Yes.
just quickly a recap of the supporting documents.
So if you're renting out your property, it will
Yes.
be your rental agreement, which would then indicate that you are the tenant and this is your rental fee. I suppose a rental statement could work, because on your statement it will also list your rent amount.
It does get itemized.
Yes. And then if you own the property and you're paying a bond on it, your bond statement would list, because remember, on your bond you're only limited to the interest.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it will list the capital portion and the interest portion,
Okay.
and then that would then substantiate. And then invoices. So if you are going to be claiming cleaning costs or repairs and maintenance and things like that, you would then need an invoice from the persons that serviced you for
Yeah.
repairs or cleaning.
Okay.
And there's actually an interesting case study question. A client of mine asked the question. They have a cleaner that comes in once a week, and they don't have the cleaner doesn't invoice them.
Yes.
They pay them in cash. What then do they do? Because they do clean the entire house, including the office space, and they want to claim those cleaning costs, but there's no paper trail. So you then have to create a paper trail. You could attach your bank statements where you withdrew, or maybe you sent the money via e-wallet. That would create the paper trail.
Mm.
And then your employee, or rather the cleaner, would then also sign acknowledgement that they received this cash for the service.
And would it also not be prudent for them to even have like an invoice book?
It would. It
for-
would.
and
Yeah.
let's say Madlamino comes in on a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Yeah.
Has that invoice book
Mhm.
in their possession.
Yes.
To keep it.
Yes.
Sort of. Nobody is up along way.
Yes.
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 Up along way just to keep
Yes.
the paper trail going.
Yeah.
All right.
So you'd need that paper trail, because if you can't substantiate any of your claims, SARS will deny the deduction. Yeah.
All right. Dean.
And then a couple more questions that I received.
Yes.
Another client of mine asked if they can claim their kitchen and bathroom area, because they are at home, they're using the kitchen to
Mm.
prepare their lunch, they're using their bathroom areas where they need to take a bathroom break. But then we need to go back to the definition of a home office.
Yeah.
It's an office exclusively used for that purpose.
Oh,
So
okay.
it then immediately kicks out that kitchen and bathroom space,
Okay.
because it's not exclusively used
Used.
as an office.
Mm.
Yes.
So you can't put it within the
No.
perimeters of
No.
deduction for that.
Unless perhaps you're using a room in your house that has an ensuite bedroom or
That
bathroom.
would make a lot of sense.
It would.
As an office.
As an
Yes.
office,
Mm.
that would definitely make a lot
Yeah.
of sense.
And then one final question, if time
Yes.
permits.
We do.
Yeah.
Have, yes, we've got.
Another interesting question that I got from one of my clients was, they are a husband and wife duo, and they've got a room, separate room that they've fully equipped with office equipment, and they are sharing the space. But now husband works for company A and wife works for company B. How do they manage that claim?
Okay.
So the answer there is that as much as he's sharing the one room, there needs to be some sort of separation. So either separate desks, or you working in separate areas of the room. Because if you're sharing a desk, it takes out the exclusivity. Because remember, the space must be regularly and exclusively used
Okay.
in the
Okay.
trade.
All right.
So if you're sharing the space, if you're sharing a desk, it takes away then the exclusivity of the space, because the two companies can't then share the expense.
That's true.
Yeah.
It does add a bit of a complication. Though.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Funny, so thank you for coming through.
Thank you so much for having
think-
me.
We're going to be learning a lot for the next couple of weeks. I certainly know I will. Yeah, do check us out next week, right? With
Yes.
Facts About Tax. Where can people get a hold of you?
People can get a hold of me on 061-874-2546, on email at info@thetaxcafe.co.za. And next week, I've prepared a very interesting topic, the tax, or the taxability rather, of illegal activities. So
Okay.
if you are involved in illegal activities, are you liable for
For
tax?
Oh.
Yes.
Interesting.
Interesting.
All right, that has been Facts About Tax with Fanny Sonungane. Do check her out next week with a narcos type narcos type topic for next week. Is there taxability on illegal activities? That should be fun. Should be interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah, do tune in next week. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
It has been a great first show with you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We will check you out next week. And it is actually time for us to get us out of here.
Yeah, time
Time's
flies,
fun.
eh?
Time's fun when you're having flies. Do check us out next week. Lelu, it's been great.
Yeah.
Do check her out on the Fifth Element tomorrow,
Mhm.
yes?
Yes, tomorrow,
6 to 9.
6 to 9,
All right.
with True Sense.
True Sense.
Hopefully, he'll be there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I will see you tomorrow. Yep. On Moment of Truth with True Sense. Hopefully he'll be back. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been fun, man.
It's been fun.
She's been fun as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You, Lelu.
definitely.
My name's DJ LT, and this has been Moment of Truth. You know.
This is KNR. Radio according to you.